Hello, my name is Claire McFadden, and I am a sophomore political science student at Bloomsburg University. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about China's online pharmaceutical networks and its involvement in the illicit fentanyl trade. So, for some background, fentanyl is a very highly addictive synthetic opioid that was first produced in the 1960s to be used in hospitals for severe pain, such as advanced cancer pain. A standard dose of fentanyl is only 0.05 milligrams per milliliter, meaning that this drug is very easy to overdose on. It's also typically 80 to 100 times more potent than morphine. In the illegal market, drug dealers will often lace heroin or cocaine with fentanyl without the user's knowledge to make more product for a cheaper cost and to increase the euphoric effects of the drug. Fentanyl has quickly become one of the most dangerous drugs in the international drug market, and it has had devastating global effects. Countries like the United States and Canada have been heavily targeted as buyers in the illicit fentanyl trade, and the data shows this very plainly. In 2018 alone, more than 31,000 Americans died from an illicit fentanyl overdose. In the same year, Canadian law enforcement seized enough illicit fentanyl through the Postal Service to kill over 7 million people. So the question must be asked, where is all of this fentanyl coming from? Steve Myers from the New York Times reported in an insider study on the Chinese fentanyl networks that in both 2016 and 2017, 97% of drugs seized through international mail by U.S. law enforcement were traced back to legitimate Chinese businesses. In the case previously mentioned regarding drug seizures in Canada, law enforcement was able to trace these shipments back to Chinese businesses that are recognized by the Chinese government with names and addresses attached. In this new wave of the opioid epidemic, the fentanyl trade is occurring on the clear internet with little to no discretion. Chinese opioid distributors will post ads for fentanyl or its precursors on heavily trafficked everyday pharmaceutical websites. One of these pharmaceutical websites is Wangsheng. Wangsheng is an online Chinese pharmaceutical distributor, and it happens to be one of the most prominent proprietors of illicit fentanyl and its precursor drugs. Wangsheng is owned by Ye Shangfa, and he hires young Chinese students as sales representatives with the promise of many incentives, such as free phones, progressive pay increases, and even a place to live. Many times, though, these sales representatives are unaware of their involvement in the opioid epidemic. A lot of them do not even know the lethal effects of the drugs that they are shipping into the U.S. As recently as 2017, buying fentanyl from China was as easy as a simple Google search to Wangsheng, where you would then put in touch with one of these sales representatives. So in 2019, about 6 months after the Group of 20 summit, the Chinese government decided to ban the export of any opioid that even resembled fentanyl. And from the looks of it, the fentanyl industry seemed to have slowed down. This ban effectively put 91 manufacturers and 231 distributors out of business in China. However, fentanyl was still being shipped into the U.S. and Canada. So how? Companies like Wangsheng took advantage of fentanyl's precursor chemicals, which are NPP and 4A-NPP. Companies that distribute these precursors export it to Mexico, where there are cartels of people trained in chemistry that make the fentanyl, where it is then shipped into the U.S. Wangsheng has been noted to have exported the most NPP and 4A-NPP out of all Chinese pharmaceutical distributors. In 2019, it was actually reported that Wangsheng still had a factory in Shenzhen, China, that was producing NPP and 4A-NPP. In the same year, Wuhan was regarded as the largest supplier of fentanyl precursors to Mexico. With all of this occurring on the open internet, it is China's duty to respond to this issue. this illicit fentanyl trading and the trading of its precursor chemicals and the making of China into somewhat of a middleman in the fentanyl trade is not a secret, and the Chinese government is fully aware of this. So it is up to them to continue their actions discussed in the Group of 20 summit and expand upon them with the ban of the export of NPP and 4A NPP.